Okay, welcome back. I've got great news for us today. I was able to capture some of this electricity that was flying around the room and actually put her in a capacitor and then rig up a little cap pulsar with a neon bulb. And this is my setup for today, and I'll show you. It's the whole thing right here. And I've got a couple of CFLs hooked in series, and I've got a ground lead coming in here, an earth ground right there. I got my little Pi 10 antenna. It's going into a bridge rectifier. It goes from an AC to a DC. Comes around here. This is where I'm going to be reading it. And I'm going to put it in that little capacitor, which is off of an ignition coil. And I'm not sure what the rating is, but I think it's high voltage but low capacitance. And then I'm going to trigger it with that neon bulb. And I saw this done several times on the internet, and Nat's doing it, and they're, I guess, using an SCR, silicon controlled rectifier, to recycle the energy. But I was real happy to see all this happen. I'm going to drive this with a couple of lithium batteries. It's about 15 volts going into the system. That's going to show my amp draw on the system right there. And this is how it's going to work. I'm going to hook up the earth ground right now. There's the earth ground, and you'll see a little bit of voltage coming in just off the ground lead. This is being fed through that bridge rectifier. Now I'm going to hook up the antenna part of it. Okay, now you're going to see a little bit more coming in. Okay, this is what's coming in out of the environment. This is stray electricity in the room, and this is something that we're investigating, is just how much of this is in the air and how much of this is in the house, and where is all this coming from. But I set the Pi 10 on top of the little lunch box here. This is my Imhotep Radiant Oscillator Lite. There are two big ignition coils in here that are oscillated with a pulsing DC current that jumps the voltage very high and fires off these two CFLs. These are modified CFLs. And what's happening is these coils, when they charge and collapse, are irradiating energy right through that lid, and I'm picking it up with this Pi 10, and it's actually electricity being transmitted, sort of like a capacitance, right through the air into this Pi 10 here. It's just an aluminum Pi 10, nothing on it, just a Pi 10. So let me turn this on. There's what I'm showing right now on the system. I'll turn this on and show you what happens here. As soon as I turn this on, that goes off scale. Now I'm going to turn this to the 200 volt range, and that, my friends, is 139 volts. Now what's happening is that oscillator system in that box is taking the 15 volts that's coming into it at 200 milliamps. That's 200 milliamps at 15 volts. It's running the system, and I'm getting the induction 139 volts. Now if I pull this Pi 10 away, you see it goes down. See, I got the Pi 10 way out here. And I'm still getting some transmitted right through the air, and this is Tesla's energy transmission through air. And this is, as I get closer to this will go on up until I put it right down on there, and this goes up to 100 and some odd volts. Okay, now this is what's really interesting to me, is this part of it. Now I'm going to take the neon here, which is a 110 neon bulb, and touch it to the lead. See if you can see that go on or not. See that go on? That irradiates when it gets onto that lead, and that doesn't go off until it's at 60 some odd volts. I found out it'll actually start glowing at 60 some odd volts. There's the voltage that it stays on at, 53. Now the next part of the experiment was to see if I could get it to go into a capacitor and see if the neon would pulse it. Okay, now there goes the voltage into that capacitor. It's loading up that capacitor, and it's got 150 volts in it. Now I'm going to hook up the neon here, and there goes the neon. That's actually a cap pulsar circuit now. That neon is pulsing this energy, and it's holding it at that voltage right there. Now the next thing that's interesting is I'm going to turn these bulbs on now. And there's the first one. Cap pulsar still running. I've got 60 some odd volts showing on the induction, and I'm still drawing 200 milliamps. Okay, this is going to go up some when I draw in the other light here. There goes the second light. There's the voltage. There's the cap pulsar going off. This has gone up 20 milliamps maybe 30 milliamps. And this is what was very, very, very exciting to me, was to see this happening. Is we're getting energy from induction coming off of those coils that are charging and collapsing. And that can be put someplace, recycled, or done something with, and it's pretty high voltage. And that's what that capacitor is doing. Now I tried a bunch of different capacitors, and they all acted differently. But you need a high voltage capacitor to make this go into a pulse like this. If you start going smaller voltages, it loads up too slow and it won't go into that oscillation pulse. But yeah, I'm pretty excited about this. This is something that I didn't know could happen. And like I say, it's coming in from this earth ground, going through a bridge rectifier, and then going through this antenna that's set on that box right there, and then charging up that capacitor, and the neon is discharging the capacitor. And that's the experiment for today.